Because we are live and I am not looking at the screen. So welcome everybody to Hump Day Hangouts, episode 248. Today is the 7th of August, 2019. And hopefully this is coming through okay. If you guys can, leave a note on the page. Tell us you're here. Say, Adam, we hear you. Or Adam, stop talking, something like that. We're dealing with the new technology for streaming this stuff as we had to ditch the old method. But we're still streaming on YouTube and on the Hump Day Hangouts page. So with that said, just leave a note and we are going to say hello to everyone real quick. So guys, oh man, this is messing me up. I'm used to a different order, but we're going to start with Bradley. Bradley, how you doing, man?
All right, let me figure out how to unlock. Okay, I think that worked.
Good to go.
Can you confirm? All right. So yeah, we're trying Zoom meetings for the first time to stream directly to YouTube, guys, and it's a little bit funky getting it started. And looks like Chris is joining twice. So anyways, it's going to take us a little bit of time to get used to it. We've been using Hangouts since Hangouts was released when was like, what, 2013 or 14? So I'm going to have to, it's a bit of a learning curve. But besides that, we'll figure it out. You guys will have to deal with it. And I'm good. I'm here. Can you hear all right, everything, Adam?
Everything's cool.
Yep, I was just checking the audio on the page and we're good.
All right, cool.
We're good.
So yeah, but other than that, I'm good. Excited to be here. Moving on.
All right, cool. Well, Hernan, you're up next. How you doing, buddy?
Am I? Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, this is Hernan from the internets. And I'm just really excited to be here. Really excited to be on Zoom. And really excited to be on Hump Day Hangouts. And really excited for POFU Live 2019. That's coming. And we have some really cool stuff coming up. We have some really cool speakers coming up. And it's going to be pretty epic. It's going to be pretty epic. I'm pumped for that. So thank you guys for being here. Definitely.
You know, Hernan touched on, I want to say it real quick. First of all, if you haven't grabbed your ticket yet, go to pofulive.com, grab them. Haven't updated the page yet. We just confirmed our, depends how you look at it, we'll call it the 4th guest speaker, Catherine Jones, the creator and owner of CF Design School. If you haven't yet, go check out her stuff, but she's going to be talking and she's got a ton of great experience she's going to be sharing with us. You know, she started a business on her own, has grown it into a 7-figure business with a team. Just a great human being and a lot of business growth over the past couple of years she's going to be sharing with us. So with that said, let's get back to talking to everybody. Marco, how you doing, man?
I was talking to a muted mic. Who knew? Good shit, man. I'm really looking forward to POFU Live, right? POFU, for those of you who don't know, is how we do the we do, otherwise known as position of fuck you. It's where you want to get to. How do you get there? Well, we consider ourselves helpers on your path to POFU. This is a start. Hump Day Hangouts is the start of the path. Some of you are people that we know that constantly come here for information. You go apply it in your business. We've known people to grow businesses from simply being in Hump Day Hangouts. And if that's their POFU, that's fine. But the path also includes the membership areas that we have where we share a whole lot more information than what we would generally share in public. What we share in public is generally things that are, they're known in or should be known in SEO circles around the web. It's not a great secret. It's just we sometimes put our own spin on it. But the place to really grow your business and to really get that detailed information and that extra hot sauce that I use to do the do that I do would be in our Semantic Mastery Mastermind. Anyway, I'm excited to be here. I'm liking this new way that we're doing this with Zoom. I love Zoom. Been using it for a while, and I'm seeing it even in the video feed that it just looks awesome, real crisp, sharp. So yeah, let's do this.
Nice. All right. Last but certainly not least, Chris, how you doing?
Doing good. Super good to be here.
Good deal. What's one personal development thing you think you might be talking about at POFU Live? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Oh, I'm really not sure about that yet. Like, I have a couple of really good ideas that might change some people's lives, but I haven't nailed it completely down yet. So like I'm gonna be working on those things the next couple of weeks.
Cool. Yeah, and I put Chris on the spot, and what he said, it sounds like a big claim, but I totally back it up. We talked a little bit yesterday about some stuff we're planning with Semantic Mastery and how we're going about that, and things we're doing to make our lives easier, make the business better, make things better for customers, people watching this show, people who buy things from us, et cetera, and members. And Chris has got a lot of really good ideas and stuff that's been put to work in other places and brought a lot of success. And I know he gave a great talk last year, and I believe he's going to be sharing some killer stuff this year. So on top of that, just wanted to say real quick before we get into the questions, you guys, if you're new to Semantic Mastery, thanks for watching us here as we're getting started with Zoom. And this is the place to be if you want to get your questions answered. Digital marketing, if you want to be talking about how to get clients, how to prospect. If you got questions about funnel, maybe you got questions about paid ads, you've got questions about anything like that, ask us. And if we don't know, we will definitely point you in the right direction. But beyond that, you know, the question we get is, okay, well, where do I start with Semantic Mastery? Well, this is the place to start. Come back here, join us each week. If you can't join us live, you can always ask your questions. You just go to semanticmastery.com/HD questions, catch the replay. But we love it when you join live. We like having the interaction. We like knowing what's going on with you, hearing about the success or issues you're having, just like we share. But then after that, going and grabbing the battle plan. All right. And you can find out more about that at battleplan.semanticmastery.com. It's all about getting easy, repeatable results. All right. We put a lot of work and effort into that. That's got real world experience and ways to get results in there. Just go over there, check it out. Great way to get started with us. And then when you're ready to take things up a few notches, whether you either want to start a digital marketing business, whether you're a solopreneur and you want to have an agency, or maybe you're a business owner and you're looking, you know, to grow this side of things, and you realize you need to at least understand, if not do some of this stuff yourself or build the team behind it, come join us in the mastermind. And you can find out more about that at mastermind.semanticmastery.com. And last, but certainly not least, if you'd like to save some time and money, and you know that doing stuff kind of ties you up, so to speak, you know, getting stuff done for you is a great way to both save time and money, whether again, you're doing it for clients, you're doing it for yourself. But head over to MGYB.co for your done for you digital marketing SEO needs, stuff like syndication networks, ROS, drive stacks, press releases, link embeds, everything, whatever you need. And if it's not there, let us know and we'll look into adding it. All right. We're certainly growing that out and want to provide as much as we can for you guys. So with that said, is there anything else that you guys want to touch on before we dive into questions?
No, not at the moment.
All righty. Well, if that's it, let's do this.
All right. So first, let me figure out how to share the damn screen.
The little share button. It's a green button at the bottom.
Yeah, I know that. I know that. Let's see if I can share the whole screen. All right, and then do I need to lock it on me too? I think I do. Let me see.
Yeah, we're seeing your whole entire desktop.
Right, and so if
Okay.
let's see if
and it's locked on you. Yeah, you're good.
Now it should be the whole screen, correct?
I've got your whole desktop, and yeah, it's locked on you.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So I should hide any windows and tabs that I don't want anything to show. Is that what you're saying?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
All right. Let's zoom in on this a little bit. Okay, cool. So we're going to start with some very long questions. Some very long questions from Don Stevens. So,
all right, real quick, a shout out to Don. That's great. I lived in Ithaca, man, for like, 7 years. So I saw this, got excited. I'm be flying into Syracuse actually here in like a month. So anyways, let's get going.
All right. So Don says, good day, everyone. I'm from Syracuse and I'm hoping to sign new clients. I have a question about GMB, Google My Business. I've read over and over again strategies to get into the 3-pack. I still have so many questions. Maybe someone can help. 2 questions. My client is in real estate in what is considered a suburb of a bigger city. I can rank her in the suburb, but it's so difficult with the city. Correct. Yeah, it typically is, especially in real estate. There is so much competition and her office address is in the suburb, not the city. How can I have her rank in both? The realtors who are ranking in the city all have offices in the city, so this makes it difficult. Plus, it's crazy how some realtors don't even claim their business and they're higher ranked than my client. Some have unfinished profiles, hardly any photos, etc. We are posting regularly, adding new pics, and having a link campaign for Google Maps, including content and blogging with the Google Map embedded. Frustrating to do all this work and not have her ranked well. Yeah, and Don, that's part of the problem with GMBs because it went so hyper local as of July of 2018. So over a year now, when the mobile index mobile first index really took over, it went hyper local in that people like it's a proximity is one of the biggest proximity from the searcher to the actual business location is one of the biggest ranking factors for maps. There's ways to overcome that, but it does require a lot of work, especially in the real estate industry. Well, I wouldn't say that necessarily just for maps, but for organic rankings, it's tough to rank in the real estate industry too, because like if you're trying to rank in the organic section, because you're typically fighting against very high authority type, very aged domains like Century 21, Long and Foster, Weichert, and then also like a lot of the directory style sites now, or property listing sites like Zillow and Redfin and Trulia and all that kind of stuff. So it's very difficult to rank organically. But as far as the GMB stuff, the maps ranking, it's a proximity issue is what you're running into for the most part. Marco can talk a lot more about this. We have a program called Local GMB Pro that can teach you how to overcome some of those proximity issues, but it does require quite a bit of work. It's not something that's you can do really overnight, especially without having having the physical location actually in the city that you're trying to rank. So it's going to be difficult. Marco, what say you? You're muted. Can everybody else hear me? Because
I got it. I couldn't find my own mute button. The thing changed on me. But yeah, the problem that he's running into is proximity, and that's what he has to overcome. And if he thinks he's done a whole lot of work to try to overcome, he hasn't even started, because I don't see any mention about drive stack plus gsite in here. I don't see anything about siloing. All of the different things that we teach both in Local GMB Pro and in RYS Academy Reloaded, add ID. The whole entity has now, what he's trying to do is accomplish it backwards. It's difficult enough to get it to bleed, to get enough trust and authority to get to bleed from a main city into a suburb. The way that we do it and the way that we teach it, that's difficult enough because you don't have a presence in the suburb to trigger proximity. So what you're trying to do is overcome proximity with activity, relevance, trust, and authority, right? The art of art. You're trying to override everything with that, but it has to be so much that you can actually take down all of these people whom Google already considers relevant for this search, that they answer the query. Let's say, for example, plumber, whatever city, or city, whatever plumber. And that's what Google displays. You're trying to overcome all that. And I remember when he posted this question, and I'm the one who told him to post it here because I wanted to address it. The problem is that this is backwards, right? You're going from a suburb to a big city where there's a lot of competition in that big city. So there's a couple of things that you can do. You can try and get an office, air quotes, in the city and get verified there, and then the suburb can be the main office, and then you can have an office in the city, or backwards. And then you can start relating that way between the city office and the main office, or the main office in the city and the suburb, and then additional suburbs. You could do it that way, right? What I call the spoke, where you relate the spokes all around that where you're pushing all of that power, relevance, activity, relevance, trust, and authority. That's how. That's just a start, because I mean, we do press releases, we do link building, we do embed runs. We add depth and breadth to the drive stack plus gsite. We do a lot of things on the GMB, not just the post, but on the site, and how we silo the posts, and how we're doing press releases now. It all adds up into a whole bunch of power when you push it with link building, and when you run embeds and you do link building. But it all has to be put together in a way where all of that power is going to carry through all of those hops or that link stream, so that it powers up whatever that final piece is. And add to that the fact that I was just talking to Rob, and he just pointed it out, that if you're looking, for example, at something like Indianapolis plumber, Google is now showing Google guaranteed above the 3-pack, right, in 0 position. That's what you're seeing now. in mobile. So you have to scroll through that. Then it's Google Ads, and then it's the 3-pack. And so it's not just overcoming that. You can get in the 3-pack with enough power, but how do you overcome? How do you get people to now scroll down all the way to the map pack to make that call to you? And to get into the organic search, where you have to overcome all of these, as Brady mentioned, Angie's List, Yelp, and all of these other really powerful players in the niche. You overcome them with power. And as I've mentioned before, in order to push that much power, your client is going to have really big pockets like the rest of these people do, or you're going to have to be willing to do all that work. And I hope that all of that work that you're doing can pay off. A lot of times, it's not even worth it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's, I think still probably your best bet is what Marco said in this case would be to get a second office or location, so to speak. And, there's ways that you can kind of, you can still get them. It's not as easy as it used to be, but you can still get additional locations. And, in the case like what Marco's saying, especially when you're going from a suburb to a big city, that's even harder than going from a big city to a suburb. In other words, if your primary location was in a big city, then it's easier to overcome that proximity issue by pushing into a suburb, right? A smaller adjacent area than vice versa. And so, there are a lot of things that you could do, though. Is it worth it? I don't know. It depends on the budget. Like Marco said, there's obviously the foundational stuff that we're going to do anyways, right? Which would be like the drive stack plus gsite and what we call theme mirroring. If you've got a website, you could do silos, and you could have location-based silos that are with what we call geoposts, which are essentially optimized for the areas that you're trying to target in, and try to build depth to that silo, do proper silo internal linking, and then mirror all of that through a drive stack, a gsite, press release silo stacking, which we just covered recently. So there's a ton of stuff that you can do, but it's a lot. It's an uphill battle. There's no doubt. And it depends on how big their budget is and how long they're willing to wait, right? If they want to speed the process, they need to spend more money, right? And so that you can do more of this in a shorter period of time. If and that's that again, a lot of the times it's just very difficult to do. It's not that you can't do it, but it depends on is it going to be worth it? Are you getting enough to make it worth all that effort? And that we can't answer that for you. That's something you have to answer for yourself. So, but right now, still probably the easiest thing to do would be to just get another location if you can, another secured GMB, verified GMB. So the next question was, second question, I'm going to start a crowd search campaign for her GMB page. I'm not sure if the destination should be the GMB page or the client's website. If you're using actual crowd search, I would recommend you don't do either, because those are bots, guys, and through commercial IPs, it's not something I would recommend unless it's been significantly overhauled since the last time I use it. I wouldn't recommend sending it direct to a money site for sure, and probably not to a GMB page either. If you send that stuff through referral sources like Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, then that's different. That can still have a little bit of an effect, but it's still very insignificant compared to how it used to be. So, I would recommend that you would actually buy traffic, which you can do from Google ads and Bing ads and even Facebook ads, where you can buy real traffic to engage with your primary website. And even to the GMB, if you wanted, you could, through Google, you can actually buy traffic and clicks to your GMB, right? And your GMB website, your maps URL, that kind of stuff. And that way you're buying real and targeted traffic that's going to count. Google's not going to count. It just kind of ignores. It's not that it's going to be, toxic, but it kind of ignores these search and click bots, or CT spam bots, what I call these, right? Click through spam bots, because it understands it. The algorithm can spot that stuff out immediately, right? It's instant. It's algorithmic. So I don't recommend doing that. If you're going to be using those CT spam bots, then I would recommend that you do that through like referral based sources, and do it out at tier 3 to tier 2, or tier 2 to tier 1, but not directly to your money site. Because honestly, I don't think I don't think it's wise to do that anymore. And in fact, I just don't think it gets counted at all, but I'm afraid that it could also raise red flags. So I stopped doing that a long time ago, because you can buy real traffic from real targeted audience for inexpensive, right? So
Yeah.
Google search ads, hold on guys, Google search ads are obviously expensive, but Bing search ads are typically considerably cheaper. Plus Facebook, which Hernan can speak about, but also YouTube ads. And you can also buy traffic from display ads. You know, may not convert all that well, but it will still give you more targeted and relevant traffic. So Hernan, what do you say about Facebook?
Yeah, that's actually a good point, Bradley, because I don't remember how much you would end up paying for a credit or whatever on crowdsearch or this type of search traffic. But you know, for a local area, for a metropolitan area, you can get clicks for maybe 10 cents a click. You know, a real click, like a real actual person going to, let's say, an article on your website, right, from Facebook. And this will be local IPs because you can be as local as you want in there. So these will be local IPs that are going through Facebook, right, which is a completely 100% valid source, or you can send them to your tier 1 links, right, to GMB or whatever. And this will be local IPs, local people going from mobile, going from desktop, like actually behaving like a real human being would, right, because they are real human beings. Mm-hmm. And they can be really, really cheap. So you can spend like $5 a day or $3 a day on a landing page view type of campaign on Facebook. And, you know, you can actually get traffic initially right off the bat to your client or to your own assets while you wait for SEO to kick in. And so I think that's, you know, combining the immediacy and the speed of PPC with, you know, the longevity of SEO. I think it's the best of both worlds, and it doesn't have to be expensive. You know, just take a little bit off the top of whatever the client is paying you and invest that back into Google PPC or even Google tap to call or pay per call, or, you know, that type of stuff that will give your client traction off the bat. Or you can do Facebook lead ads, which are working really well right now. And it will give your client traction off the bat, which will buy you time to do the SEO with peace of mind, you know?
Yeah. Anybody else want to comment on that? Okay. Thought Marco would jump in, but he looks muted again. So I'm going to move on. So yeah, as far as I don't recommend using crowdsearch or any spam bots, guys, honestly, for your primary asset, your digital asset. I wouldn't do that. You know, again, you can use it to push out on like tier 3 to tier 2, that kind of stuff. But I really don't recommend you going direct to your money site with that. We stopped suggesting that at least 2 years ago, if not longer, for that reason. So you're better off just buying real traffic, and you can do that. It's inexpensive. There are several different options. You can combine options too. So, all right, Fitz is up. He says, good day, gents. Thanks for this form to get real world answers that work. I'm confused. How do you point a Google sheet to another property? I have a syndication network and I want to put in a Google sheet, then point it to either the .business.site or to a gsite, but not sure how to point it. Well, remember, when we say point, we just mean add links within the sheet, right? That can be anchor text links or just naked URLs and make them hyperlink to the property that you want to push to. And now your sheet becomes a tier or a link, right? That you can then do additional stuff to. As far as to point to a business site, for example, a .business.site, which would be a GMB website, you would just point, put links within the Google sheet to that business site. But for a gsite, you could either put a link directly to it, but you could also embed it, which is, kind of like RYS drive stack stuff, right? You could embed it in the gsite. So there's multiple ways to do it, but typically you're going to link to it. But, you can do embeds by, embedding the actual sheet in various web properties. But you can also put links within the sheet to the properties that you're trying to push power to. And both of those, or do both, really. Embed it and put links within the sheet, because now you create that picture-in-picture, that double mirror effect, right? When you put two mirrors together and you look into them, what happens? It gets smaller and smaller and smaller, right? It's almost like a never-ending tunnel. that's what we do with the iframe stacking, and that's how you can handle that. Marco, you want to comment on that?
No, that was perfect.
Okay. Anybody else? Just asking, guys. All right. So next, Gordon says, "Hey guys, your help on Hump Day is very, very much appreciated. I had previously asked a question about using a partial match domain like toplocalplumber.com for a local lead gen site. Thanks for your helpful answer. I would like to better understand a couple of things though. One, you said to stay away from exact match domains, but since some people might search using the phrase top local plumber, Google might consider it an optimized domain. Might Google consider it an optimized domain and raise a red flag? First of all, no, not really. I mean, top local plumber, yes, that could be an exact match on a local level, in my opinion, would be, or through my experience, it would be like top local plumber plus city. Now that would be more of an exact match domain than top local plumber, which is more general, right? Because when we're talking about, especially on a local level, when we're talking about an exact match domain, we're talking like I used to build sites with exact match domains because it worked incredibly well, right? So for example, I would say, plumberfairfaxva.com or fairfaxplumber.com or something like that might be what I targeted. But what I recommend is not doing that now. Now, top local plumber, that's a partial match domain name, in my opinion. Even though some people may search for it, it's not the normal like keyword type search that people are going to be targeting for finding a plumber with local intent, or trying to find a local plumber, because most of the time they're going to enter in, at least for desktop, they're going to enter in an actual location modifier. So just keep that in mind. I mean, yeah, top local plumber, I could see how you would think of that as an exact match domain, but I think of that as more of a partial match domain. Okay. Number two, if you have the niche in the domain name, as just mentioned, is it safe to optimize the URL for the inner city pages to contain the specific niche again? Like for example, toplocalplumber.com/Dallas-plumber or toplocalplumber.com-Austin-plumber, or would repeating the niche be a Google red flag trigger? Yeah, I wouldn't do that because you don't want to have the keyword repeat multiple times in the URL if you can help it. So why not just use the slug for the city name instead, right? You don't need to add that Dallas-plumber or Austin-plumber. If it's top local plumber, plumber's already been declared in the domain, right? So I would just use Dallas or Austin, set up the category the slugs that way, right? So the URL itself, right? The category might be Dallas plumber or Austin plumber, right? Or it might be categories or pages, but you can still optimize or edit the slug or the URL, the permalink for that category to remove the plumber, right? So the name of the slug, or the page or the category in that case could still contain plumber, but I would edit the URL to make it shorter, more succinct, and omit plumber so that you're not repeating it again and again, because chances are you're going to end up having, especially if those are categories or top level pages, if you're going to be placing any posts underneath of that, right? Then you'd also probably end up repeating similar terms in that slug, right? For the post title or post permalink, for example, or if it's a child page, for example, depending on how you structured your silo, right? Whether it's a complex silo or a simple silo. So just remember, I always recommend trying to keep your URLs as short and succinct and to the point as possible. And you don't have to repeat a bunch of keywords. In fact, I recommend against it. Anybody else want to comment on that before moving on?
Yeah, I wanted to add something that you said that resonated really big with me. The fact that you don't need to treat, like Google right now is intelligent enough. Like for instance, I don't know, search for local plumber in your area or how to unplug a toilet, whatever that is. And there's a high chance that a website like BuzzFeed will come by, right? And the reality is that they come by not because of how, like, of course, when they're writing an article, when they're putting together an article on their website, they're aiming for it to rank on Google, right? That's why they will have keywords and LSI type of keywords on their headlines and on the comment and on the paragraphs and whatnot. But they're not as adamant as having it on, at every step of the article, like on the URL, on the first, on the headline, on the H2, H3, like bold, underline, you know, italics, that type of stuff. I think that Google is like much more intelligent, and right now that it can understand that if your website is about plumbing and you have schema about the area that you want to rank about, and then you mention it a couple times on the text naturally, I think that you have a high chance of ranking for that keyword. And the reality is that people, as Bradley was saying, people will not be searching for plumber Virginia. Out of that query, there will be hundreds and thousands of potential, you know, queries that people can come up with, right? And all you need to do is to go into Google Search Console and see all of the impressions that your website got based on the queries that you're ranking for. So there are millions of variations, you know? So going after that and being more natural about the URL structure and more natural about how people, you know, speak in the articles and whatnot, and then using all of the other stuff that Bradley and Marco were mentioning, like, you know, schema on the website, and then maybe an RYS tag or whatever that is. I think that will help you rank. But, you know, Google is like, I think it's, you know, its machine learning is advanced enough so that it will understand the topic about your website without you having to expressly say it and put it in a way that's unnatural, even in the URLs, right? Because nobody will type in, nobody will go in and type localplumber.com/Dallas/best plumber in Dallas, right? Nobody will type in that. Like, people will search for something and they might type in bestplumberindallas.com or something like that. So I think that maybe we need to go back and relax ourselves a little bit in terms of, you know, over optimizing the keywords over there. So
yeah, I've made the comment that you don't have to get Google over the head anymore like you used to.
Right. Yeah, right.
You know, in fact, if you do, you can trigger you can bring the quality score down for your page, or your ranking score, as Marco calls it, and it actually can hurt the entire site, not just the individual page. Yeah,
so. And that's also provides a good point with it, which is like your site, like a page of your website can rank for hundreds of keywords, right? So you don't need to optimize a page for a keyword, right? Because at the end of the day, nobody will be typing in that exact keyword. Like, maybe some people will, but most people will search like all over the place. So that same page, provided that your content is long enough, that you add enough LSI, that you have schema and whatnot, will rank for hundreds of keywords, if not thousands, you know, so have that in mind.
Yeah, the problem with having the keyword in the URL multiple times is that you usually end up over optimizing. That's where that's the entire problem. Now, as Hernan said, you can run into issues where people aren't really looking for the exact thing that you think the person is looking for. But the main issue here is that then on page, you have to be really careful about how you're going to write, how you're going to approach this, so that you don't keep saying plumber, or plumber city, plumber, city, plumber city, like we used to do back in the day. That's how we used to optimize back in 2004, 2005. You just repeat it as many times as possible until Google ranked it. Get as many links as possible until Google ranked it. It was that simple. It's not that simple anymore because of the over optimization issue where you run into quality, right? Google will gauge user experience, and it'll gauge the quality of your page, and it'll weigh that against all others. Now, here's the caveat. If all others are doing it, then by all means, you have to do, and I think this runs into the next question, sorry. You need to check and see what the competition is doing and how they're doing it, so that you can decide what it is that you need to do to top them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's actually, I don't know, do we still do Quora reports in MGYB? Marco? Do we still provide that?
I think we do. Let me check. I'll check and get back to you.
Okay. So, Gordon, I'm going to start answering your question because it's still similar about on-page optimization. And then Marco would correct me or chime in a minute. He says, by the way, for a multi-city local lead gen site, when using one inner page per city, Do I understand correctly that you should use each major keyword in an H tag or a heading tagged paragraph title, and then optimize for all the other keywords you want to target throughout the content in each of those city pages? And what is the maximum amount of H tags you can use on a page before Google thinks they're spammy? All right. So first of all, no, you don't need to do that, because as Hernan just said, the ranking, Google understands natural language patterns now and can understand the intent of a page now, and like the meaning, believe it or not, like through artificial intelligence and rank brain and things like that, it can actually understand the meaning of a page. So where we used to optimize by frequency of words or word phrases, right? That's how we used to optimize it. We would look at keyword density as a determination of how well a page was optimized, because Google would use word frequency like as a way to determine how well or what a page was about. But it doesn't do that anymore, at least not to agree, at least not entirely. In fact, it will actually use word frequency as an over optimization sign. You know what I'm saying? Like if you continually hammer the same word phrase or phrase over and over and over again, and typically keywords are phrases, right? They're keyword phrases, not singular words. Then that can actually be a negative thing, right? It can actually, like I said, lower the ranking score of the page and actually cause problems. So you don't need to highlight all those in a bunch of different H tags. The better way to write, and we've been doing this, and I've been doing this especially for years, is really to figure out what your top level terms are. So the broadest of keywords that you want to rank for, and perhaps put those in a couple of H tags, just the broadest of terms. And then you can work in the longer tail terms into the actual content, right? So the broadest of terms, especially if you can break it down into almost like categories within the page, right? So we talk about silo structure and creating pages that are optimized for keywords and things like that. And in the years ago, prior to one of the Panda updates, one of the many, we used to suggest that you would have a separate page or post optimized for a singular keyword. And you would string those together into silo format or silo structure that would kind of all, and with the internal linking and everything, would push up and push link equity and link juice and keyword theming and all of that up through the silo to help you rank the broader of terms, the more competitive terms. However, many years ago, I'd say 2014 timeframe, we found that was actually causing more problems. And one of the better ways to do it now is optimize a longer content page that you can actually break down like individual keyword themes in a hierarchy structure almost, that would go into separate paragraphs or sections. And H tags make sense there, right? So because those are heading tags. So it makes sense to break down a page into almost categories of content, right? And if you're going to use a longer form content, guys, that's where something like a table of contents at the top of the page, or that uses jump links, could actually link down, and that creates internal linking within the page, within a singular page, right? And that's very, very powerful. But the idea here is to just pick your top level keywords that you're trying to optimize for, and if a page is going to be dedicated to a city, you don't need to keep working the city term into all of those H tags. Now you want to just focus on the topical keywords or the service keywords, right? If it's for a plumber, for example, you're going to be talking about different services. So you don't need to keep working, water heater repair plus city, and drain cleaning plus city, and emergency plumbing plus city, and all of your H tags, because the page is going to be optimized for the city anyways. So you can work on just now more natural language patterns and talk about breaking the content down into sections that are specific to the different types of products or services that you're going to be promoting, and then use longer tail keywords even in those, just the paragraph parts of those sections to kind of reinforce the theme of that section, if that makes sense. And remember, if you're going to use longer form content, which is what we recommend, instead of creating multiple pages within a particular silo, each being optimized for one keyword, you can accomplish all this with one page now. And then, like I said, with the table contents and jump links, it's very, very powerful. So Marco, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that, yes, we still have Quora,
Okay.
And it's still in mgyb.co. So just head there. I posted the link on the page. And as far as this is where Quora comes in especially handy, because then you can go and see exactly what your top 10 competitors or however many you want to insert, what they're doing to rank for that keyword. You'll have all of this correlational data that you can apply to see if you can go or how far that'll take you towards taking down the competition. You're still going to need, your entity has to be right. Your on page has to be right. Syndication network for entity, again, drive stack, press releases. I almost said press releases. Don't care. And honestly, guys, if you think that, I mean, go your way. We use press releases like crazy, and then link building into all of that, and embed runs with link building. We link build to everything, and we stop at the drive stack plus gsite, and let the wave just carry through to wherever it's intended, whether it's a GMB post or the website, and we'll link build to that also. Or if we wanted to carry over to the money site, we don't build links to the money site because we don't need to. We don't have to anymore. But as far as getting there and like how many H1 tags are okay? Generally, it's 1. But if your competition is ranking with 3, then when in Rome, do as the Romans do. You're going to have 3 H1s. You're going to exactly follow the patterns so that you can mimic the competition, and Googlebot will take you into that competition and then start weighing other factors to see how far up in this ranking chain you can go.
Here you go. So Mohammed's up. What's up, Mohammed? Long time, buddy. He says, hey, guys, what's the use case of buying MGYB YouTube video embeds? Is it just so the videos can get more organic views? Buy the embeds and the video will be ranked higher on YouTube? Well, it's an SEO signal, buying embeds. And you can still brute force stuff, with those SEO signals and embeds. And I've talked about this in the past, and I think some people misinterpreted what I was saying and said, but what I prefer to do is run an embed campaign at the same time that I'm running an engagement campaign, right? Because just like you still, don't get me wrong, guys, you still can just use flat out SEO signals and get results with videos. Like you can hammer them with links, you can hammer them with embeds, and that's all you do. But my point is if you take a video, then you get 10,000 embeds for a video, and the video has 36 views. That's clearly a signal that it's being the embeds were done for SEO purposes. Is it going to hurt the video? No. At least I've never had an actual video penalized. I hear that some people have, but I've actually never had one penalized. But is it going to rank better? It very well could with proper relevancy being embedded in the right places, done on an age network and that kind of stuff. It could still help. But I want it to be more natural, or to look or appear to be more natural. So whenever I do an embed campaign, first of all, I do a smaller embed campaign on videos, for example, and then I'll drive traffic in like views. I'll increase the view count, and not with spam bots, guys. I buy YouTube ads, which means I'm buying real views from a real audience. Google knows they're real because they're real users, right? And Google's delivering my video as an ad to people, and they're gonna view it whether they like it or not. It's going to register as a view from a targeted audience, a real audience. And so if I'm going to do a big embed blast on a video, then at the same time, I'm going to buy views using Google Ads for video, right? And so that way, then that's kind of a perfect storm. Now you've got now let's say you get 10,000 embeds, which I wouldn't start with that. I would start with something smaller, like 5,000 embeds or 2,000 embeds. But then I would set up a video view campaign using in-stream ads, so that the user can't, if you use a video discovery ad, then somebody has to click on it in order for the view for the video to start, and that would register as a view. But with an in-stream ad, it's going to play in front of other videos. You guys are all familiar with in-stream ads, right? The pre-roll ads that play on YouTube. So people are going to be exposed to it, and it's going to count as a view regardless of whether they wanted to see it or not. So you can buy targeted views. So I would start with something like, especially if I'm going to do an embed campaign that's not on a drip schedule. Let's say I'm going to order 2,000 embeds, and it's going to be done in a week or 5 days or something like that. Then I might do a $10 a day video ad campaign so that I can get a lot of, because views are cheap, guys. You can get views for 6 or 8 cents a view, and sometimes even a lot lower. So I would spend like $10 a day during that week that the embed campaign is being completed, so that I could get my view count up to thousands of views the same time that I'm getting thousands of embeds. Does that make sense? And that together is going to help the video to rank so much better. Well, first of all, on YouTube, yes. I don't find it hard to rank in YouTube, at least for most of the stuff that I'm targeting. Where I find it a lot more difficult to rank now for videos is in Google itself. But again, those same strategies will work for ranking in YouTube and ranking in Google as well. It just seems like for Google, you need to have more of those signals, which are, again, engagement signal guys are probably one of the biggest ranking factors, if not they are the biggest ranking factor for YouTube. And we know that because we've ranked videos on pure engagement signals without any manipulated SEO signals. In other words, no manufactured SEO signals. Whenever you have a lot of engagement to a video, there will be natural SEO signals that occur to the video, such as people will share it, comment it, like on it, share it via social media, link to it from sources. If it's if it's getting a shit ton of views, like real engagement, like viral type engagement, there will be some natural SEO signals that are going to accrue. But I'm talking about manufactured SEO signals. So I'll let some other people jump in on this. But as far as the YouTube video embeds, yes, that is an SEO signal that can help a video to rank both in YouTube and in Google. But I always recommend that you implement that the same time that you're also doing an engagement campaign. And Mohammed, I know that you're familiar with how to run YouTube ads because you've been in the mastermind. So anybody want to comment on that?
Yeah, here's the thing about YouTube. It's a 100% neural network. That means it's AI 24/7, right? There's really the human interaction that takes place is just they have human moderators going through and seeing any of the red flags that the neural networks put up. I haven't gone back and tested enough in YouTube to see if there's 2 or 3 separate neural networks that are active in YouTube, which mean 2 or 3 separate algorithms at play in YouTube. Now, I personally love it that it's a neural network, because that means that if you just overpower the math, if you can figure out the math and then overpower the math, then it doesn't matter how you're doing it. You're just overpowering the math, and so you can fake it. You can totally fake it with embeds, with embed runs. It just has to be done right. Fortunately, we have a data with multiple embed networks. They're aged with multiple embed networks. They're relevant. They're relevant. This is echoing. Somebody needs to mute.
It was Hernan. I got him.
All right. So he's built a network. We talked about this 3-4 years ago. We were talking about how to build it, how to set it up, how to link build to it so that it powers up. And so he's got millions of Web 2.0s and places where he can embed, and it's all relevant, and it's niche related. And then he knows exactly how to link build into it to push power along to your YouTube channel, to your YouTube video, to your playlist, wherever it is that you want to go. The packages were just added into MGYB.co so that people can take advantage, whether you want a Kickstarter package, whether you want the medium kit, or whether you want that nitro boost, where you just really want to boost it up.
Yeah.
Dedia knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then what that does is it delivers it in reverse. It pushes it so that you get the neural network to take notice, rather than getting visits into it to get the neural network to take notice. It's just 2 different ways of achieving the same purpose.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you don't go buy YouTube views, because you should. You should get that mix in there of real people acting like real people, because Google is going to follow that person all the way through all the way through to the final decision that person makes, which is whether to buy or not, give you information or not, which is what you're really looking for. If at the end you're not set up properly to close that person in whatever way it is that you set the goal, then you're fucked anyway, because you're doing it wrong. If you're not gonna, if they end up on that page and nobody finishes the whatever it is that you've set for it, whether it's a contact list, whether it's click to call, whatever it is, then you're done anyway. And so you do both. You do both so that you send clear signals to whatever algorithms and neural networks are at work within YouTube.
Yeah. Also, I just, by the way, Mom, go into our SEO tutorials group, the free Facebook group, and take a look at the post that Dedia just recently posted about the embeds. And he was talking about just doing GMB embeds, but he's got, hard data there that shows the, how well the embeds do work. And I agree with Marco. You can do it one way or the other, which is what I was saying. You can still brute force an SEO, like with SEO signals, to get a video to rank. I just prefer to do a combination of both at the same time, and it seems to work really well. So you can do it both ways, though. All right, we're running out of time, so I'm going to try to roll to the next couple. Blazed8, okay, says just joined Syndication Academy 2.0, and I was wondering if you can tell me the best way to go through the training. The reason I ask is I was watching a video and Brad started talking about tier 1, tier 2, and so on. And then I went back and said, remember when we covered this while showing images of web rings? No, I don't remember this because I didn't see those videos. So there must be an order to watch the training so it makes sense. Any advice is much appreciated. Thanks. Yeah. So, I would recommend going through the training modules first. There's the way, I would go through the way, and I should have logged into the membership
I've got
site.
it up actually, if you want me to share my screen.
Yeah, please.
Let's see. I cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing.
Well, let me stop my screen share then. Jeez.
Right. Get with the program.
Okay, go ahead, man. I'm gonna.
All right, there you go. I'll let you talk through it, but it's specifically down towards the bottom. But I'll just kind of go through it if you want. Do you want to talk through it, or I can? Yeah.
Well, also, yeah. I mean, you go ahead and talk through it since you've got it open.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, just to go quickly, obviously, I forgot whoever was asking the question, but this is what you'll see. And if you if you're not a member of Syndication Academy, this is what it looks like behind the scenes for part of the training, at least. And then we have the private community on top of that. But at a home tab here is what you'll see when you log in. Just start at the top and work your way down here, because as we had Syndication Academy, as we updated it to version 2.0, we've added instructions in here about what to do. So of course you want to watch some of the intro about the user interface updates, how to join the Facebook group. And then in here we have, please follow the training in order, and note that the updates module is where any updates will be posted. And if this is your first time inside, you might want to watch those first and then go through the rest of the training, just so you're aware of any changes that have happened. And that it would be over here when you go into the training. You can see that there's the updates, and then you have the normal remainder of all of this training along with the bonuses.
Yeah, and so if you just want to go up real quick and click on the update section, you'll see that there was updates through there, guys, and the dates are in there and that kind of stuff. And also, if you go back through to the actual main core modules too, whenever there was an update that was recorded about a specific property, for example, and the setup or the accounts or anything like that, anytime there was an update that was discussed in a webinar, then that part of the update was cut out and then actually put into the proper place in the training modules as well. And we tried to stay on top of that. So again, I totally agree. Go through the updates and watch them, because it will then go through the regular training on a case-by-case basis, or the regular modules. And that way you'll be familiar with certain parts that if you get to it and it doesn't look the same, or it's not jiving with when you're doing your build out, if it's not jiving with what you're seeing in the video, you'll know that was probably already covered in an update. And again, if the update section for that wasn't actually added into the training modules right next to it, above or below it, then it'll be in the update section. So all you got to do is check that often as you go through the regular training modules. If you come across something that just doesn't look right, just go to check the updates module and just scroll through the titles. You'll see. I tried to clearly identify in the titles what the update was about, so that it made it easy for that. So remember, there's a lot of moving parts to a syndication network, which is why we recommend that you buy them from us, from our store, because it's a lot of work. And you'll see that when you're going through all the training. But I perfectly, encourage you to go through the training and understand how to build the networks and all of that anyways. And, there's a lot of parts to it. So that's why there's a lot of updates too. Okay.
Can I add something real quick? Is that I've been through a lot of digital trainings, And I'm not going to say that Bradley's is one of the most organized type of training that you could possibly find online, but it is, like, no kidding. This training is set up specifically so that you could get a completely untrained virtual assistant from wherever in the world. And by the end of it, you will have a full-on super proficient syndication network builder. And that goes to show you the level of detail and the level of, I would say, organization that Bradley puts into every piece of training that he puts out. And you know, I personally think I'm a big fan of Bradley's training, being his partner, because the level of organization that it has, it's second to none. And I've done a lot of training, digital training, specifically during, you know, my lifetime and in my career as a digital marketer. So, you know, it's there, believe me.
Awesome. Thanks, man. All right, guys, I'm going to answer 2 more questions. So Tommy's and then Kyle's, and we're going to wrap it up because I've got to leave here right at 5 just about. So we're going to try to roll through these rather quickly. Tommy says, if I write 1 blog post per week and buy 1 press release from MGYB to point at each blog post and do this ongoing monthly for my client, how often should I buy the Web 2.0 blast to power up all of these? When it comes to time to submit my new posts for this follow-up blast, do I also include all the original blog posts in my order that were hit with the first Web 2.0 blast so they get hit a second time? Okay, so first of all, I wouldn't recommend that you submit your blog post URLs for the link building. You would want to submit the press release URLs, right? And if you go back to it's in Syndication Academy. We just showed the Syndication Academy dashboard. Hopefully you guys were seeing Adam's screen. I don't know if I had unlocked the video from my side or not, but it also in the MGYB store, I think the last one that we did, if you go to mgyb.co/store/webinar, which we need to link to that in the header, guys, if it's not in the navigation bar of the MGYB store. The last webinar that we did was on PR stacking, PR press release SEO and PR stacking. If you can't find it there, just go to our YouTube channel and go to the Semantic Mastery YouTube channel and type in, or you can just go to Google or our YouTube and just go to regular search and type in press release SEO and PR stacking. You'll find our video. It's right there, you know, one of the top few videos. So click on that and watch it. And it'll tell you exactly how to stack PRs, press releases, using that silo strategy that I was talking about. And in that, if that's the case, you don't need to constantly add new, you know, you can continue building depth to the silo, and that's perfectly fine. But when you do add, purchase a link building package to power up the press releases, you don't have to keep link building to the press releases that have already had PRs, or excuse me, links built to them. Because if you're doing the linking together correctly, stacking through a silo fashion, then it's all going to flow through anyways. So it's not necessary to do that. So I would rather do more frequent, smaller link building packages to, like, let's say you did it every other month. Let's say you were doing bi-weekly press release blog posts plus press releases, right? So you'd be 2 per month. Let's just use that as an example. Then I would rather do every 2 months, order a link building package to the 4 press releases that have been published in those 2 months. And then 2 months later, order another smaller link package to the next 4 press releases. And if you chain them all together properly, it's all going to flow to where you want it to flow anyways, which is exactly what we've been teaching. Okay. So
hey, Bradley, just for the record, we do have a link on the mgyb.co page to the latest webinar. And on the webinar page, there's a link to the previous webinars. So everything is available.
Beautiful. Okay, good. Thank you. And like I said, guys, if you're ever missing anything like that, you can always just go to our YouTube channel because it's live on our channel too. So, all right. So the last one, guys, and then we got to wrap it up, as Kyle says, love your show, guys, and super appreciate you do this every week. And you're welcome, Kyle. He says, my questions, when it comes to internal linking silos, do you recommend two-way linking up and down the tiers of the silo? Example, tier 1 pages link up to the main page, and the main page also links back down to the tier 1 pages, etc. Or do you recommend only linking up the silo? Also, yeah, so first of all, because we're running out of time.
Before you answer that, please don't give my ranking methodology away.
I understand. I'm just going to say link up. Like that's the better way to do it. I would not be linking, you know, through in and out, because it doesn't seem natural that way, in my opinion. And, you know, we've talked a lot about this in the mastermind, especially recently. And Marco went over this in great detail, but the short answer is link up. Okay. Second, the second part of this question is also, if you have multiple silos, do you recommend keeping the internal linking separate between silos? Yes, absolutely. Now, for users, for visitors, and for navigational purposes, right, it makes sense sometimes to link to from one silo to another, but just no follow those links, guys. Doesn't mean you can't link between silos. Just make sure that you're stopping the flow of page rank, right? So, and how do you do that? With a no follow link. So, you know, we prefer not linking between silos where possible, but sometimes it makes sense to do so, and we don't want to restrict visitors, you know, the flow or behavior flow of a visitor, where it makes sense to direct them to other pages. For example, in a silo for like service page, like service type in businesses and such, a lot of the times there will be a contact us link that'll link to a contact us page, which is not part of the silo. Doesn't mean you can't use a contact us link in your articles or your supporting posts or whatever as any part of the silo. It just means no follow it, right? So that you're not passing, you're not bleeding the theme of your silo. Does that make sense? So you can link between silos, guys. You just make sure that you're no following those links. Okay. All right. I think we're done.
Ooh, cool.
All right.
You want more? Join the mastermind.
Yeah,
That's
said.
moral of that story. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. We will see you guys next week. We do have a mastermind webinar tomorrow, so I will see you guys there for that as well. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
See you guys.